Chapter 1. The Dinner Table. The clinking of silverware echoed softly around the Andersons' dining table, accompanied by the faint hum of the dishwasher running in the background. The meatloaf was perfectly seasoned, the mashed potatoes smooth and creamy. Everything looked picture-perfect, just like the Anderson family was supposed to be. Lily sat straight in her chair, napkin folded neatly on her lap, chewing quietly. Her posture was flawless, her manners impeccable. Across from her, Ethan, her 12-year-old brother, stabbed at his peas with the enthusiasm of someone trying to win a war. "Ethan, use your fork properly," their mother, Linda, said, her tone sharp but controlled. "You're not 5 anymore." "I am using my fork," Ethan muttered under his breath but adjusted his grip. Lily reached over, silently handing him a napkin he'd dropped. "Thanks," Ethan mumbled. Linda turned to Lily, her face instantly softening. "How did the math quiz go, sweetheart?" Lily forced a smile. "I got a 98. "Of course you did," her father, Mark, chimed in. "You always make us proud, Lily." "She stayed up until midnight studying," Ethan said, still wrestling with his peas. "I heard her light on." Lily's cheeks reddened slightly. "It was just a few extra pages to review." Her mother beamed. "That's what I'm talking about. That's dedication. Lily sets the standard. Right, Ethan?" Ethan didn't respond. He simply stabbed another pea. Lily lowered her eyes to her plate. Praise was supposed to feel good, but lately it didn't. It felt like a tightrope wrapped around her chest, pulling tighter every time someone said she was perfect, ideal, the daughter everyone wanted. She pushed her food around quietly. "By the way," her dad said, turning the conversation, "Mrs. Chin from my office asked if you'd be open to tutoring her daughter in English. She's in 9th grade like you, but struggling." "Sure," Lily said automatically, before her brain could catch up. "You don't have to say yes right away," her mom added. "But it'd be a good leadership experience for your college application." "Yeah," Lily replied, the fork in her hand trembling slightly. "It's fine. I can do it." The conversation moved on to other things: Dad's worksite delays, Mom's upcoming parent-teacher conferences, Ethan's science project that still wasn't started. No one noticed Lily had stopped eating. After dinner, Lily quietly cleared the table, rinsed the dishes, and stacked them in the dishwasher. Ethan had darted off to his room the moment he was excused. Mark and Linda had moved to the living room to continue their nightly routine of watching the evening news. No one asked if Lily wanted help. They never did. She had always just done it, ever since she was 8, and had learned the rhythm of what made the house harmonious. Ethan would argue, make noise, complain. But Lily knew the value of silence. Silence kept peace. Silence made her loved. After the dishes, she tiptoed up to her room, the floorboards creaking under her careful steps. She closed the door softly behind her and flicked on her desk lamp. Her backpack was still open from earlier, folders neatly stacked, highlighters lined in rainbow order. Her planner was full, every line filled with check marks. Except one: write short story draft for English. Her fingers itched for it. Writing was the only time she could truly breathe. But she hadn't written anything for herself in months. Only essays, practice exams, scholarship forms, resume edits. She pulled out the draft she had scribbled during lunch on a scrap of notebook paper. It was about a little girl who collected stars in jars, but couldn't show anyone because they only glowed when she cried. Lily stared at it, and slowly, as if her body had finally caught up with the weight of the day, she lowered her head onto her desk. Tears came, not dramatic sobs, not gasping wails, just quiet, steady drops that fell on her paper and blurred the ink. She didn't know why she was crying. Or maybe she did. Downstairs, Linda looked up from her tea and frowned. "Did you hear that?" she asked Mark. "Hear what?" "Nothing. I thought I heard something." Back in her room, Lily wiped her face quickly, then sat up. She glanced in the mirror across the room. Her reflection looked composed again. Clean face, tidy hair, eyes just a little red. She took a breath. She couldn't afford to look tired. Tomorrow was the biology review session before finals, and she had promised Mrs. Chin she'd tutor her daughter by Thursday. Lily crossed the last remaining line in her planner, short story draft, even though she hadn't finished it. It was easier to cross things off than leave them open. Just like it was easier to smile than explain what was really going on inside. She turned off her desk lamp and crawled into bed. As she pulled the blanket up to her chin, she whispered into the darkness, "I'm tired of being good." And then, just like every night, she told herself, "But they'd stop loving you if you weren't." So she closed her eyes, buried the voice deep, and drifted off to sleep. Chapter 2: The Perfect Mask at School. The morning air in Portland was crisp, filled with the smell of wet leaves and early dew. Lily stepped out of the car, her backpack slung neatly over one shoulder, her coat buttoned all the way up. Her father gave her a thumbs up from the driver's seat before pulling away. As always, Lily arrived early. The halls of Rosewood High were still half empty, the custodians finishing their rounds, and a few early bird students hunched over books in corners or scrolling through their phones. Lily made her way toward her locker, footsteps light, as if afraid of making too much noise. She opened the metal door, stacked her binders in color order, green for science, blue for English, red for history. Her schedule was a carefully choreographed dance. No room for mistakes. "Hey, Lily." Anna Torres's voice cut through the hallway like sunlight. Anna, bold, slightly chaotic, and perpetually late, bounded up beside her, her frizzy curls bouncing with every step. She shoved a crumpled worksheet into her bag and leaned her back against the locker. "Don't tell me you already did the calculus homework." "I finished it last night," Lily replied, offering a small smile. Anna groaned. "Of course you did. You make the rest of us look bad, you know." Lily gave a light laugh, one that didn't reach her eyes. "Sorry." Anna didn't notice. She was already fishing for a granola bar in her bag. "You coming to art club today after school?" "I have tutoring," Lily said automatically. "Again?" "Girl, don't you ever get tired?" Lily hesitated. The word yes almost on her tongue, but it stayed there unspoken, like so many other things. Instead, she smiled again. "It's fine. I like helping." Anna didn't push. She rarely did. Not because she didn't care, but because Lily was good at building walls that didn't look like walls. Smiles. Nods. Efficiency. Politeness. Invisible bricks. First period was honors biology. As Mr. Dawson lectured about mitosis and cellular replication, Lily took careful notes, her handwriting neat and controlled. Her classmates fidgeted, whispered, passed notes when the teacher wasn't looking. But Lily sat straight-backed, as if perfection was expected even when no one was watching. "Lily," Mr. Dawson called mid-sentence. "Can you remind us what phase the chromosomes align in the center of the cell?" "Metaphase," she answered instantly. "Exactly. Always reliable," he said with a smile. "See, class?" "Model student." Lily nodded slightly, but her stomach twisted. There it was again, that label. The model student. The perfect one. It used to make her proud. Now, it felt like handcuffs. Behind her, someone whispered, "Of course she knows. Lilybot never gets anything wrong." Another voice followed with a snicker. She pretended not to hear. During lunch, Lily sat at the usual table with Anna and a few classmates. They chatted about TV shows, plans for the weekend, gossip about who liked who. Lily laughed at the right parts, nodded in rhythm, offered helpful advice about an upcoming essay. But the truth was, she felt like a background actor in her own life. She played her role, hit her marks, wore her smile. But it wasn't real. She glanced at her tray. Half-eaten apple slices, untouched sandwich. Her appetite had vanished again. Anna nudged her. "You okay? You look pale. Just a little tired." "You sure?" "You've been tired for weeks." Lily opened her mouth to deflect again. "I'm fine," but was saved by the bell. She stood quickly. "We're late for class." Her last period of the day was English literature, her favorite. Mrs. Keller, the only teacher who didn't treat her like a trophy, had a soft voice and eyes that seemed to see more than they let on. Your short story drafts are due Monday, Mrs. Keller said as she handed out printouts. Please write from your heart, not from your checklist. Lily's hand froze over her notebook. From your heart. What did that even mean anymore? After class, Mrs. Keller called her name. Lily, may I have a moment? She stepped forward, backpack still on her shoulder, fingers clenching the strap. I just wanted to say, Mrs. Keller said gently, your essays are always strong. But I can't help wondering if there's more you're not saying. Lily blinked. What do you mean? I mean, you're very good at writing what people want to hear, but not always what you feel. The words stung more than they should have. Lily gave her usual smile, the one that shut down conversations. I'll work on it, she said. But as she turned to leave, Mrs. Keller added, you don't have to be perfect to be interesting, Lily. Sometimes, the cracks let the light in. Walking home, Lily's steps were slower than usual. She thought about her parents, about Mr. Dawson's praise, about Anna's questions, about Mrs. Keller's eyes that seemed to peer past her mask. She thought about the story of the little girl and her star jars. And for the first time, she wondered, what would happen if someone actually saw her cry? Not the polite Lily. Not the perfect daughter. Just Lily. And deep in her heart, something whispered, maybe it's time. Chapter 3. The Counselor's Question. The counselor's office at Rosewood High sat tucked behind the main administrative hallway, a space that most students only visited for schedule changes or last resort interventions. But for Lily Anderson, it was becoming a place of quiet pauses, a corner of the school where the mask didn't have to be worn as tightly. The space itself was cozy. A soft gray couch, books stacked sideways on wooden shelves. A diffuser gently exhaled the scent of lavender. And behind the desk sat Ms. Riley Spencer, calm, patient, and painfully observant. Lily sat with her hands folded on her lap, ankles crossed neatly. Posture as perfect as always. Ms. Spencer offered her a soft smile. How's your week been, Lily? Lily gave her standard reply. Busy but good. Ms. Spencer tilted her head slightly, pen resting on her notepad. What does good mean to you? Lily hesitated. Just, things went smoothly. No issues. No issues, Ms. Spencer repeated. That's different from saying you're happy. Lily shifted slightly in her seat. I don't like to complain. Ms. Spencer leaned back in her chair, thoughtful. Do you feel like you're not allowed to? The words hung in the air like dust in sunlight. Lily bit her lip. I guess. I just don't want to be a problem. Everyone's always busy. And I'm okay. Are you really? There it was. That question. That quiet, gentle excavation of everything Lily tried to keep buried under A+ papers and polite nods. She looked at the window instead of answering. Miss Spencer didn't push. She scribbled something in her notebook, then changed the subject. Have you had time for yourself lately? Something not school-related. Something just for Lily. Lily thought. The truth was, she hadn't. Every moment of her day was spoken for homework, tutoring, chores, meetings. Even lunch breaks were filled with helping others or studying more. I write sometimes, she offered quietly. Do you? Miss Spencer smiled. That's wonderful. What do you write? Stories, Lily said. But I haven't finished one in a long time. Why not? Lily shrugged. I never have time. Anne. I guess I don't know if they're good. Do they have to be? Miss Spencer asked gently. Or do they just have to be yours? Lily blinked. Her fingers twisted in her lap. It's hard, she whispered. What is? Being what everyone expects. After the session, Lily walked out into the hallway and immediately saw her mother waiting at the end of the corridor. Linda Anderson stood tall in her beige coat, her heels clicking sharply against the tile as she walked toward her. All done? Her mother asked, glancing briefly at the office behind her. Did you talk about time management today? Not really, Lily replied, clutching her bag. Well, we need to leave soon. You've got that biology review session at 5, and then Mrs. Chen's daughter at 7. Lily nodded. Okay. As they walked to the car, her mother spoke about scheduling, about next week's dentist appointment, about whether she had practiced piano lately. But Lily heard none of it. All she could think about was one sentence, still echoing in her head. Do you feel like you're not allowed to complain? That night, Lily sat at her desk. The house quiet except for the muffled sounds of her parents talking in the kitchen. Her planner lay open in front of her, each box filled with tasks, each task crossed out. Productive. Efficient. Controlled. She picked up her pen and wrote in a blank space at the bottom. Today I wanted to say no, but I smiled and said yes again. She stared at the words. Her heart raced just looking at them, as if writing them down had somehow made the truth too visible. She quickly tore the page out, crumpled it, and threw it in the trash. Then she stood, walked over, and took it back out. Smoothing the paper, she slipped it into the back pocket of her notebook. For once, it felt okay not to be perfect. The next morning, as she walked into school, Anna caught up to her with a grin. Hey, I saved us seats at lunch today. You better not run off to the library again. I won't, Lily said. Then, after a pause, actually, can we hang out after school too? Just something fun? Anna blinked in mock surprise. Is this Lily Anderson asking to ditch a study session? Lily laughed softly. Maybe. Just for today. Anna bumped her shoulder gently. Finally. I was starting to think you were a robot. Lily smiled. It wasn't perfect. But it was real. Chapter 4. When the body says enough. It started with a headache. Not the dull kind that whispered from behind her eyes after a long day, but a sharp, pulsating pain that made the hallway lights at school blur and hum. Lily squinted as she walked between classes, her hand gripping her bag tightly. Her vision swam slightly, but she kept going. She always did. By fourth period, her limbs felt heavier than usual, like she was wading through water. Her stomach churned, and her hands trembled faintly as she reached for her pencil during chemistry. Lily, her lab partner, whispered. You okay? I'm fine, she murmured automatically, wiping sweat from her temple with her sleeve. She wasn't fine. She hadn't been sleeping well for days. She couldn't remember the last time she had eaten a full meal. Her nights were a blur of mental to-do lists and nightmares that woke her with her heart pounding. But none of that mattered when you had 3 assignments due, a tutoring session that evening, and parents who smiled only when your report card gleamed. So she pushed on, because that's what the good daughter does. By the time she walked into 6th period, the buzzing in her ears had turned into a roar. Her hands were ice cold, yet her face burned. She took her seat at the back of the classroom and rested her head on the cool surface of her desk for just a second. Just 1 second. Lily? A voice called from far away. Lily. Then there was the sound of chairs scraping, feet running, someone gasping. Her body slid sideways off the desk, her vision narrowing to a single white dot before darkness took her. The next time she opened her eyes, she was lying on a hospital bed. The lights were dim, but sterile white walls surrounded her. A heart monitor beeped steadily beside her. Her wrist had a plastic band, and 4 dripped silently into her arm. She blinked, slowly coming to. Then she saw them, her mother, white-faced and trembling at her bedside, and her father, standing stiffly with a hand on Linda's shoulder. Both looked terrified. Lily, her mother whispered, gripping her hand tightly. Sweetheart, oh my God, are you okay? Her throat felt dry. What happened? You collapsed at school, her father said, voice cracking. They called an ambulance. The nurse stepped in a moment later with a clipboard. You're awake, good. We ran your labs. There's no serious infection, but your body's under extreme stress. You're dehydrated, your blood sugar is low, and you're severely sleep-deprived. Linda covered her mouth with her hand. The nurse hesitated, then said gently, Has your daughter been under a lot of pressure lately? Neither parent answered. Lily closed her eyes. Later that evening, after the nurse left and the machines beeped quietly in the background, Lily stared at the ceiling while her parents sat beside her, unusually quiet. I'm sorry, she finally said, her voice hoarse. I didn't mean to worry you. Don't apologize, her mother said immediately. But I'm supposed to be strong, Lily whispered. I didn't want to mess things up. Linda's lips quivered. Oh, baby. You always said I was the good one. The one who didn't cause trouble. I thought if I ever broke that, you'd stop being proud of me. Linda covered her mouth again, and this time tears slipped down her cheeks. You've been carrying all of this alone, her father asked, his voice more fragile than Lily had ever heard it. She nodded, her vision blurring again. I didn't want to make things harder for you. I thought, if I just kept going, if I kept being what everyone needed, everything would stay okay. Her mother leaned in and held her tightly. You don't need to be strong all the time, Lily, she said, voice shaking. You don't need to earn love. You already have it. Her father reached over and held her other hand. His grip was steady, warm. You don't need to be perfect, he said. You just need to be you. That's more than enough. And just like that, something inside her cracked, not in a painful way, but like a dam giving way to long-stilled waters. For the first time in a long time, Lily let herself cry. Not from pressure, not from exhaustion, but from the sheer, overwhelming relief of finally being seen. Chapter 5. The Quiet Room. The hospital room was quiet now. The machines still hummed softly, but the chaos had passed. Her parents had gone home to bring Lily a change of clothes and talk to her teachers. Visiting hours were over, and the nurse dimmed the lights, leaving Lily alone with her thoughts. The silence was not uncomfortable, it was unfamiliar. Lily lay still in bed, the force still in her arm, staring at the window where city lights glimmered in the distance. Outside, Portland moved on, cars passed, people hurried through their Friday evenings, life marched forward. But in this little white room, time had slowed. She could feel her heartbeat, each breath. And for once, there was no schedule to follow, no tasks to check off, just space. A gentle knock on the door broke the stillness. It creaked open slightly, and Anna peeked in, holding a small brown paper bag and wearing the kind of worried expression only best friends knew how to wear. Hey, she whispered, stepping inside. I smuggled you chocolate. Don't tell the nurse. Lily smiled faintly. You didn't have to come. Are you kidding? I almost had a panic attack when I heard what happened. Anna pulled up a chair and sat beside the bed, eyes scanning Lily's pale face. You look like you were run over by AP chemistry. Lily gave a soft laugh. Feels like it. Anna hesitated. Why didn't you tell me things were that bad? Lily looked down at her blanket. I didn't even know it was. It just kept building. Anna reached into her backpack and pulled out a sketch pad. Remember this? Lily's eyes widened. The sketch pad was from 7th grade, filled with doodles and imaginary creatures they'd created together. Lily would write the story, and Anna would illustrate it. I found it in my closet yesterday, Anna said. You used to write like crazy. You were always making stuff up. You were alive in those pages. I forgot about it, Lily murmured. I didn't. And I miss that Lily. Lily's eyes welled up. She's still here, she whispered. I just stopped listening to her. Anna didn't say anything. She just reached over and held Lily's hand. The next morning, Lily's doctor came in during breakfast rounds. Dr. Patel was warm but firm, a woman with kind eyes and a voice that didn't allow evasion. We ran more tests this morning, she said, scanning the chart. Physically, you're on the mend. But emotionally, your system is clearly overworked. Lily didn't speak. I see this a lot, Dr. Patel continued. Smart girls. Polite. Hardworking. Never say no. Everyone thinks you're thriving, when in reality, you're drowning in silence. Lily's throat tightened. You need to rest. And not just sleep, real rest. Space to feel, to breathe. To not be perfect. Can you give yourself that? Lily looked at her. I don't know how. Dr. Patel smiled gently. Then we'll start slow. But promise me this, no more pretending. Lily nodded. And for the first time, she meant it. Later that day, her parents returned, carrying her favorite hoodie, a stack of books, and a small pink stuffed elephant from when she was 6. Linda placed the elephant gently on the bed. You still sleep with this sometimes, don't you? Lily blushed. Only when I'm stressed. Her mother's eyes filled again. I should have seen it sooner. You weren't supposed to, Lily said softly. I was always so good at hiding. Mark pulled up a chair, unusually quiet. Then, after a long silence, he cleared his throat. I want you to know, he began, voice low and hesitant, that you don't have to carry everything. I was raised to believe hard work solves everything, but love isn't earned. It's given. And we didn't show you that well. Lily blinked rapidly, trying to hold back tears. She didn't want to cry again, not so soon. But then her mother leaned over and wrapped her in a hug. You don't need to be good anymore, sweetheart, she whispered into Lily's hair. Just be. And with that, Lily cried again. Not because she was broken, but because she was finally allowed to be whole. Chapter 6. The Blame Game. It was a strange thing to hear her parents argue. Not in the explosive way some kids described, doors slamming, voices shouting. Lily's parents didn't fight like that. They were too composed, too orderly. But now, sitting quietly just beyond the partially closed door of her hospital room, Lily could hear their voices, sharp-edged and cracking under pressure. This didn't happen overnight, Mark, her mother said, her voice trembling. She's been showing signs for months. She never said anything, her father replied, too quickly. She seemed fine. She's always fine. She pretended to be fine, Linda snapped. That's different. We were too busy praising her for being strong to notice she was falling apart. I didn't tell her to push herself that hard. No, but we didn't stop her either. We let her think love depended on success. Do you realize how dangerous that is? A pause. Lily could almost hear the silence between them thickening. Then her father spoke again, quieter this time. I thought we were doing what was best. Pushing her to succeed. Preparing her for life. Linda's voice cracked. She's 16, Mark. She needed to be a child, not a soldier. Lily pulled the blanket tighter around her, her heart pounding. She hated hearing this, not because she disagreed, but because it confirmed something she had always known. Deep down, the love she was given was real, but it had always come with conditions. Be calm. Be excellent. Be dependable. Then you'll be seen. Later, her parents entered the room, more composed but visibly raw. Linda sat beside her and stroked her hair like she used to when Lily was small. Mark hovered at the foot of the bed, awkward but earnest. We talked, her mom began gently. About a lot of things. We were wrong, Lily, Mark added. We thought we were being supportive. But we were putting too much weight on your shoulders. Lily bit her lip. I thought if I ever let go, you'd be disappointed. Or mad. Mark's voice caught. Never. We were proud of you for your accomplishments, but we should have made it clear we're proud of you simply because you're you. Linda nodded, eyes wet again. We're so sorry, honey. We see it now. And we want to change. The room fell quiet for a beat. Then Lily said, barely above a whisper, I don't know how to be anything else. You don't have to know yet, Linda said, leaning closer. We'll figure it out together. That afternoon, the hospital therapist stopped by, Miss Keating, a gentle woman with laugh lines and eyes that could soften steel. Your body is telling your story. Lily, she said, after listening for a while. And it's screaming for a rewrite. Lily nodded slowly. Miss Keating handed her a blank notebook. I want you to try something. Each day. Write down one thing you did not for approval, but just for you. It can be small. Listening to music. Doodling. Saying no. Anything. Lily stared at the cover. It was light purple, with a small golden tree embossed on the front. It looked too clean. Too untouched. I'll try, she whispered. And she meant it. That night, alone again. Lily picked up the notebook and turned to the first page. She wrote, June 14th. I didn't apologize for resting today. I just rested. And the world didn't end. Then she closed the book and stared at it for a long time. This was going to be harder than any essay she'd ever written. But maybe, for once, it could be for her and only her. Chapter 7. When Lily finally spoke. 2 days later, Lily was released from the hospital. The sky outside was cloudy, typical for a Portland morning, but to Lily, it looked softer somehow, like the world had lost some of its harsh edges. She clutched her lavender notebook in her lap as her father drove her home. Her mother sat beside her, glancing back every few minutes as if to make sure she was still breathing. No one filled the silence with to-do lists or questions about homework. For the first time in forever, the silence didn't feel like something to be fixed. It just was. Back home, Lily walked through the front door like she was entering a memory. The house smelled like lemon cleaner and the faint scent of something baking, comforting, and foreign all at once. A bouquet of wildflowers sat on the dining table with a note in Anna's handwriting. Not all bright things have to be earned. Some just bloom. Lily smiled. Her mother helped her to the couch and tucked a blanket around her. You don't have to go back to school until you're ready. One day, 1 week. We'll figure it out with the counselor. I have finals next week, Lily said automatically. You're not taking them, her father replied, gently but firmly. Lily blinked. But you need to heal, her mother interrupted. That's more important than any grade. Lily sat very still, absorbing their words. For so long, she believed missing a test or getting less than an A would be the end of everything. But now, her parents' eyes weren't full of disappointment, they were full of something else. Grief. Regret. But also love. A love that wasn't chasing achievements anymore. That evening, Lily sat in her room and opened her lavender notebook again. June 16th. I listened to music I liked. Not what others thought I should like. I didn't study. I watched the clouds. I let myself be quiet, really quiet, and I didn't hate it. She traced the last sentence with her fingertip. Then, slowly, she reached for another notebook, her writing one. The one buried at the bottom of her desk drawer, full of half-started stories and crumpled drafts. She flipped to a blank page and began again. Once there was a girl who spoke only in smiles. Until one day, her heart whispered louder than her mouth ever could. She didn't worry about grammar, or structure, or whether someone else would think it was good. She just wrote. The next morning, her family sat down for breakfast. For the first time in months, Lily wasn't already dressed, packed, and organized by 7 a.m. She came down in pajamas. Her hair was messy, her eyes still heavy with sleep. But she looked real. Ethan blinked. You're not going to school? No, Lily replied. Not today. He looked surprised, but didn't push. Cool. Wanna watch cartoons later? She hesitated, then smiled. Sure. Mark poured her a glass of orange juice and placed it in front of her. No lectures. No reminders. Just juice. Linda sat beside her and placed a hand over hers. How are you feeling, baby? Lily met her mother's eyes. I'm scared. Of what? Her mother asked. Her voice gentle. Of who I am when I'm not trying to impress anyone. There was a beat of silence. Then her father said, then let's find out together. And just like that, something in Lily began to shift. That afternoon, Ms. Riley Spencer called to check in. Lily took the phone herself. Her voice wavered at first, but she spoke. I'm tired of being what everyone wants. I want to figure out what I want. Ms. Spencer's reply was simple. That's the bravest thing I've heard all week. That night, in her journal, Lily wrote. June 17th. I told the truth. It hurt, but I think I'm starting to breathe. And for the first time in a long time, she fell asleep without a list beside her bed. Just a heart learning how to speak. Chapter 8. The Hug That Changed Everything. The sky had turned pink-orange by the time Lily stepped out onto the front porch that evening. She wore a soft sweater, one that had long been buried under a pile of school uniforms and blazers. Her hair was still damp from a bath. She was barefoot, standing on the wooden porch steps, notebook in hand. Everything felt quieter, not just outside, but inside her. And for once, that quiet didn't feel like loneliness. It felt like space. Behind her, the screen door creaked open. Her mother stepped out, holding 2 mugs of chamomile tea. Mind if I sit with you? Lily shook her head. Linda sat beside her, setting the mugs down and pulling her knees to her chest, like she used to do when Lily was little and they would watch the stars together. They sat there in silence for a while, the cool air curling around them, the sound of cicadas humming faintly in the background. Then Linda spoke. You were always the easy one. The one who never needed chasing, never talked back, never caused a scene. I thought that was good, Lily said quietly. It is, her mother replied. But it also made it so easy for us to forget that you still needed care. That silence doesn't mean peace. And strength doesn't mean no pain. Lily blinked back tears. I thought if I didn't keep it all together, you wouldn't love me the same. Linda turned toward her, eyes shimmering. Oh honey, if I could go back and undo every moment I made you feel that way, I would. Lily's lips trembled. But I never said anything. You didn't have to, Linda whispered. I see it now. I see you now. And then she reached for Lily, not in the distracted, passing way she usually did, but in a full, enveloping hug that broke something open inside the girl. Lily hadn't cried all day. Not when she journaled. Not when she skipped her study block. Not when she turned off her alarm for the next morning. But now, held in her mother's arms, she wept. It wasn't loud. It wasn't even messy. It was just real. Inside, Mark watched from the living room window, his hands resting on the frame. He didn't interrupt. Didn't try to fix it. He just let them have the moment. Then, quietly, he walked into the kitchen, found a sticky note, and scribbled something in blocky handwriting. When Lily came back inside later, red-eyed, but lighter somehow, she found the note taped to her bedroom door. You are not our pride because of your grades. You are our pride because you are our Lily. Dad. She pressed her forehead gently to the door and let the words wash over her. That night, she wrote her final journal entry for the week. June 18th. I was hugged for being tired, not for being tough. I was told I'm enough, not because I succeeded, but because I exist. And for the first time, I believe them. She stared at the page, letting her pen fall beside it. There were more chapters to come, more healing, more mess, more days when old habits might try to sneak back in. But for tonight, this was enough. Chapter 9, Naming the Storms. The first day back to school wasn't easy. The building felt taller, the lights harsher, and the stairs more curious than Lily remembered. Whispers followed her in the hallway, nothing cruel, just uncertain. She fainted, right? I heard it was anxiety. She's like the perfect student. How does that even happen? Lily kept walking. Her backpack slightly lighter than usual. Not because the homework load had changed, but because she no longer carried the need to pretend everything was fine. Not entirely, anyway. She reached the counselor's office during free period and stood at the door for a moment before knocking. Her fingers trembled slightly. Not from fear, but from the unfamiliar weight of choosing herself. Miss Spencer opened the door with a warm smile. Lily, I was hoping you'd stop by. The familiar scent of lavender greeted her again as she stepped inside. She took a seat on the couch and folded her hands in her lap. I brought my journal, she said, holding up the lavender notebook. Miss Spencer leaned forward. Would you like to read something from it? Lily hesitated. Maybe later. But there's something else I wanted to talk about first. MS. Spencer waited patiently. I don't know how to talk about feelings. I've always been better at hiding them. Or writing them. But saying them out loud, it scares me. That's very honest, MS. Spencer said gently. Do you know why it scares you? Lily nodded. Because once I name them, they feel real. And I've spent so long pretending I don't feel anything at all. MS. Spencer's eyes softened. Then let's practice. Today, you can just name one feeling. You don't have to explain it. Just pick one. Lily looked down at her hands. Her chest tightened. Her throat burned. Guilt, she whispered. Miss Spencer nodded. That's a strong place to start. Why guilt? I still feel like I failed, Lily said, her voice cracking. Like I let everyone down by not being able to handle everything. Who told you you had to handle everything? No one, Lily admitted. But no one told me I didn't have to either. That evening, Lily sat on her bedroom floor with her notebook open across her knees. She stared at the blank page, then slowly began to write. Today I said guilt out loud. It felt like breaking glass. But also like breathing. She paused. Then turned to a fresh page and wrote the title, Naming the Storms. It would be her new series, a collection of short reflections, one emotion at a time. No one needed to read them. They didn't have to be perfect. They just had to be true. The next day, she sat with Anna in the courtyard during lunch, legs stretched out in the sun. The air smelled like fresh-cut grass and warm pavement. Students bustled around them, but the little bench felt like its own quiet world. Anna bit into an apple and turned to her. "You seem different." "I feel different," Lily said. "Better." Lily shrugged. "Still figuring that out. But freer." Anna leaned back and smiled. "About time you let the robot wiring loosen a bit." Lily laughed. "Turns out, I cry a lot more than I thought." "That's okay," Anna replied. "We love a good emotional meltdown now and then. You're human. Welcome to the club." Lily looked up at the sky, squinting at the clouds. "I used to think emotions made me weak," she said softly. "But now I think hiding them did." That evening, her family gathered for dinner. It was quieter than usual, no lectures, no homework pressure, no rigid timelines. Just chicken stir-fry, laughter from Ethan's bad joke, and a gentle peace settling in. Midway through the meal, Mark put down his fork and looked at Lily. "How was school?" "Strange," she said honestly. "But good. Anything you want to talk about?" Lily hesitated, then nodded. "I started seeing a therapist at school again. We're working on naming my feelings." Today was guilt. Her mother and father exchanged a glance. Linda reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "Thank you for sharing that," she said, voice full of sincerity. Ethan wrinkled his nose. "I don't even know what guilt means." "You'll learn," Lily said, smiling at him. "Or, maybe I'll write about it for you." That night, before bed, Lily stood in front of the bathroom mirror. She looked at her own reflection, not checking for flaws, not adjusting for presentation. Just looking. "I'm Lily," she whispered. "Not the perfect one. Not the easy one. Not the strong one." She placed her hand over her heart. "Just Lily. And that's enough." Then she turned off the light and walked to bed. Not fixed. Not finished. But finally, free to begin. Chapter 10. Pages for No One Else. Saturday mornings used to be Lily's busiest time. She'd wake before everyone else, clean the kitchen out of habit, start reviewing homework, and make a mental list of everything she had to achieve before the weekend ended. But this Saturday was different. There was no alarm, no checklist, no expectations. Just Lily, sitting at her bedroom desk in an oversized hoodie, a mug of lukewarm tea beside her, and two open notebooks in front of her, one for journaling and the other, her long-abandoned writing notebook. She picked up her pen and hesitated. It had been so long since she wrote just for herself, not for class or approval or a grade. The blank page stared at her like a dare. But she was ready now. Slowly, she began writing again. There was once a girl who lived in a glass castle. Everyone admired her from outside, saying how clean, how still, how beautiful it was inside. But no one asked her what it felt like to live in a house where she couldn't cry without cracking the walls. Lily paused. The words weren't perfect, but they were hers. She didn't stop this time. She kept going. Pages flowed with fragments of a story she didn't even know was forming. A girl with invisible burdens. A brother who misunderstood. A silent tree in the backyard who listened to everything. She didn't care if it was publishable. It was true. That afternoon, she went downstairs for lunch. Her father was in the garage fixing something with Ethan, and her mother was sitting at the kitchen table reading. When Linda looked up, she smiled. "You've been quiet up there." "I was writing." Her mother's eyes lit up. "Can I read it sometime?" Lily hesitated. Then she gave a small smile. "Maybe, but not yet." Linda nodded in understanding. "Take your time. I'll be here." Later that day, Lily sat on the back steps with her lavender journal. The air smelled of pine and rain, and somewhere a dog barked in the distance. She flipped to a new page and wrote, June 22nd. Today I wrote 5 pages for no one but me. No structure. No theme. No feedback. I used to think that kind of writing was selfish. Now I think it's survival. She closed the notebook and leaned back, feeling the sun on her face. She didn't need applause. She didn't need someone to tell her it was enough. She could feel it. Inside. That evening. After dinner, Ethan burst into her room holding a crumpled worksheet. Can you help me with this? It's fractions and I hate it. Lily chuckled. Come here. He sat cross-legged on her rug. And they worked through the numbers together, laughing when he tried to solve one by just guessing wildly. When they were done, he looked at her. You seem nicer now. Lily raised a brow. Was I not nice before? You were always nice, Ethan shrugged. But now you don't look so tight. Like your face was always doing homework. She burst out laughing, genuine, open. Unexpected. Ethan grinned in return, clearly proud of his observation. After he left, Lily wrote again. Today I laughed from my belly, not from my script. I helped. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. That's new. That's good. Before going to bed, she looked at her calendar. There were still projects ahead. Exams. College. Life. But now, there were blank spaces too. Space for breathing. For writing. For rest. For her. She wrote one last line that night. I am allowed to exist in my own margins. And for the first time in a long while, Lily didn't feel like a footnote. She felt like the story. Chapter 11. The club she never considered. It was Anna who suggested it first. They were walking past the bulletin board near the library, Lily with her usual books cradled in her arms. Anna dragging her backpack like it weighed more than her soul, when a bright orange flyer caught Anna's eye. Look, she said, tugging Lily's sleeve. Creative Writing Club. Every Tuesday after school. This has your name written all over it. Lily blinked. The flyer had glittery stars drawn on it, and the words, "Come tell your story, because your voice matters," were handwritten across the top. My name? Lily asked skeptically. Absolutely. You've been writing again, haven't you? Yes, but just for myself. Anna gave her a look. Lily, what's the worst that could happen? You sit in a room, listen to a few people read their awkward stories, and maybe you get to share something real with people who get it. Lily hesitated. Writing had become her safe place again. And safe places, when shared, became vulnerable places. That scared her. But the idea of speaking her truth, out loud, in her own words, also called to her in a way she hadn't expected. I'll think about it, she said. Which, for Lily, meant yes. The following Tuesday, her heart thudded in her chest as she walked down the hallway toward room 214, the art room, temporarily borrowed for the writing club. She paused outside the door. She could still turn around. No one would know. But then she remembered Ms. Spencer's words, sometimes. The bravest thing you can do is just show up. So she did. Inside were a handful of students gathered in a circle of chairs. Some held notebooks. Others clutched loose sheets of paper. There were a few familiar faces, but no one who knew her closely. And no one seemed to expect perfection. The club leader, a soft-spoken senior named Rachel, smiled and waved her over. Hi, Lily. Right? We're just doing short intros. Say your name and what kind of writing you like. When it was her turn, Lily swallowed hard and said, I'm Lily. I write, mostly stories. Fiction. A lot of metaphor. Rachel nodded. Awesome. We love metaphor. Everyone laughed lightly and Lily's shoulders eased just a little. That day, she didn't share her writing aloud. But she listened. She listened to poems about grief. Stories about broken friendships. A monologue from a boy who used humor to mask insecurity. And with every voice that cracked, every shaky word spoken into the quiet, Lily felt a kind of healing. These weren't polished pieces. These were truths. And she belonged there. Even without saying a word, she belonged. After the meeting, Rachel approached her. You don't have to read today, she said kindly. But whenever you're ready, we'd love to hear your voice. Lily nodded. I think I want to, just not yet. Rachel smiled. The first page is always the hardest. But you already wrote it. You're here. That evening, Lily opened her journal and wrote. June 25th. Today I entered a room and didn't shrink. I didn't lead. I didn't perform. I didn't impress. I just was. And it felt like the beginning of something. She closed the book and exhaled. A new chapter was starting. Not in her story notebook, but in her life. Chapter 12. the day she told the truth. Friday mornings at Rosewood High were usually slow and quiet. But for Lily, this one thrummed with something unfamiliar anticipation. She had decided the night before, after a long journaling session and a quiet talk with her mother, that today would be the day she told the truth. Not all of it, but one truth. The one she'd buried for years beneath perfect grades and quiet smiles. During third period, she knocked gently on the door to the guidance office. MS. Spencer looked up from her desk and immediately smiled. Back again already? She asked. Lily stepped in, hugging her notebook to her chest. Can I talk to you for a few minutes? Of course. Lily sat down, her fingers tapping lightly against the edge of the chair. Her mouth was dry. I want to talk about something I've never really told anyone, she said slowly. MS. Spencer leaned forward slightly, giving Lily her full attention. I don't want to be a doctor, Lily blurted. The words hit the air like thunder in a still forest. I never did, she continued, her voice soft but steady. I only said yes because everyone expected it. It made Mom and Dad proud. It sounded right, but I hate it. I don't want to go to med school. MS. Spencer didn't speak immediately. She let the silence breathe, honoring the weight of what Lily had said. What do you want to do? She finally asked. I want to write, Lily said. I want to tell stories. Not necessarily for money. I just want to live a life that feels like mine. Miss Spencer smiled gently. That's one of the most powerful truths you've spoken. Lily looked down. I'm afraid I disappointed them. Miss Spencer shook her head. Sometimes, disappointing someone's expectations is the first step to becoming your authentic self. Your parents love you. They just forgot to ask who you are. That night at dinner, the truth followed her home. She toyed with her fork, pushing carrots around her plate while Ethan rambled about a math test and Mark read from his tablet. Then Lily looked up. I don't want to be a doctor, she said. The room froze. Mark lowered his tablet. Linda's eyes widened. I've been meaning to say it for a while, Lily continued, more confident now. I've tried to be what you both wanted. But I need to figure out what I want. And I think writing matters to me. A lot. Her father was the first to respond. You're sure? She nodded. He looked at Linda. There was a long pause before her mother said, voice cracking, I thought we were giving you direction. I didn't realize we were erasing your voice. Lily blinked. You didn't erase me. I let it happen too. I thought love meant obedience. Her mother reached across the table, tears in her eyes. Love should never mean losing yourself. Mark leaned back in his chair. You've always made us proud. Not for what you do. Just for being Lily. Lily let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. It was over. No shouting. No anger. Just the truth. And a door finally opened. Later that night, she sat at her desk under the soft glow of her lamp, writing her journal entry. June 28th. I told the truth today. And I didn't shatter. I didn't lose them. I found me. This is what breathing feels like. Then she opened her story notebook and titled a new page. The Girl Who Lived Her Own Story. And with that, she began again. Chapter 13. The Week of Silence. Lily had expected relief after confessing to her parents that she didn't want to be a doctor. And at first, it had felt like freedom, an invisible weight lifted. A door unlocked. But as the weekend passed, something else crept in. Her mother stopped bringing up college applications altogether. There were no more flyers about summer internships on the fridge. No gentle reminders about volunteer hours or science club meetings. Instead, there was quiet. Not cold. Not hostile. Just quiet. And it scared Lily more than disappointment ever had. On Monday, Lily walked into the kitchen to find her mom sipping tea and staring out the window. Morning, Lily said, cautiously. Morning, Linda replied without turning around. There was no follow-up. No, did you sleep okay? No, what's on your schedule today? Just tea. And silence. At school, things were normal. Almost too normal. Anna noticed something was off by lunchtime. You've been chewing that same piece of bread for 7 minutes, she said. What's going on? Lily hesitated. My mom hasn't really said anything to me since I told her I don't want to go into medicine. Anna raised an eyebrow. Yikes. Passive-aggressive parental freeze-out. Classic. I don't think she's mad, Lily said quickly. Just disappointed. Or confused. Or grieving, Anna said gently. Lily looked up. Grieving? Anna nodded. Parents have this whole story in their heads about who will be. And when we don't match the story, they have to let go of it. That hurts. But it's not your job to be the story. It's your job to write your own. Lily stared at her friend, letting those words sink in. That evening, Lily found her mother folding laundry in the living room. She sat beside her, hands in her lap, and watched the practiced way Linda folded each shirt into perfect rectangles. I miss you talking to me, Lily said finally. Her mother didn't look up. I'm still here. But it feels like you're mad. Linda sighed, her hands pausing over a pair of socks. I'm not mad, Lily. I'm adjusting. To what? To the fact that I don't know who you are anymore. She said softly. Or maybe I never did. I was so focused on who I thought you should be, I didn't take time to listen. Lily's throat tightened. I'm still me. I know. And I'm learning to meet you as you are, not as who I imagined. For the first time in days, Linda looked at her, really looked. There was no trace of disappointment in her eyes. Only sadness. And underneath it, something warmer. Something beginning again. Later that night, Lily wrote, July 1st. Love doesn't always roar. Sometimes it retreats. But if it's real, it finds its way back. Today, I saw it coming back. She looked at the calendar beside her desk. The last few weeks were marked by words: rest, speak, write, heal. She flipped the page to July. A clean slate. And across the top of the page she scribbled, not perfect, still worthy, then underlined it twice. Chapter 14, The Pseudonym. It was a quiet Thursday when the flyer appeared again. Same orange paper, same glittery stars, same handwritten line, come tell your story, because your voice matters. This time, Lily didn't hesitate. She pulled the flyer from the wall, tucked it in her folder, and later that afternoon, she walked into the creative writing club with a folded story in her hand. She hadn't planned to read it, not really. But when Rachel, the club leader, opened the floor for anyone who felt brave enough to bleed onto paper, Lily surprised herself by raising her hand. I have something, she said, almost too quietly. Rachel smiled, then slid her notebook aside. We're all ears. Lily stood, her hands shaking slightly as she walked to the front. She didn't look at anyone directly, just the story she had printed the night before. Written in small serif font, double-spaced like she was submitting it to someone official. At the top, there was no name. Just a simple pseudonym, L. She took a breath, then began. The girl in the story is good at everything. She never forgets a deadline. She smiles on cue. She studies until her spine aches. And everyone calls her gifted, responsible, mature. But no one asks her what happens when she's alone. When the lights are off and the world has gone quiet, she talks to the ceiling. Not out loud, but in her head, asking questions like, if I stop trying, will anyone still love me? If I fail, will they look at me the same way? If I cry, will they hear me? One day, the girl collapses not from sickness, but from silence. And that's when they finally ask, why didn't you say something? And the girl wants to scream. I did. Every perfect grade, every forced smile, every skipped meal, that was me speaking. But they only ever listen to applause. Now she's learning to whisper. Not to them. To herself. When she finished reading, there was silence in the room. Not awkward silence. Reverent. One student sniffled. Another clapped softly. Rachel simply said, thank you, Elle. Lily returned to her seat, her heart pounding like it wanted to leap out of her chest. But there was something else beneath the fear. Pride. Not for being perfect, but for being real. After the meeting, Rachel approached her. That was powerful. Have you considered submitting it to the school's literary magazine? Lily blinked. Me? Rachel smiled. You don't have to put your name, but your voice deserves to be heard. Lily looked down at her folded paper. Maybe it was time. That night, at the dinner table, Lily announced, "I submitted a story today." Her father looked up from his meal. "For class?" "No. For the school magazine." Under a pseudonym. Linda leaned forward. "What was it about?" Lily hesitated. Then said, "A girl who learned that being good didn't mean being silent." Mark set down his fork. "Well," he said softly, "that sounds like someone I'm proud to know." Her mother reached over and took her hand. "No matter what name you use, we'll always see you." Later that evening, Lily opened her journal. July 4th. Today, I told my story to strangers. I didn't flinch. I didn't fold. I let the words fall. And they caught me. Not because they were perfect, but because they were mine. She smiled, then tucked the orange flyer into the back pocket of her notebook. A reminder of the day she stopped being just good and started being enough. Chapter 15. The Other Side of Expectations. The following week, something unexpected happened. Ethan brought home a progress report. It wasn't good. C's in science and math. A D in history. A teacher's note scribbled in red ink at the bottom. Ethan struggles to stay focused. He needs more structure and accountability. Lily watched the moment unfold from the kitchen doorway. She had expected what always happened when Ethan brought home something less than ideal. A sigh, a lecture, a passing scold, and then nothing. Ethan, after all, was the boy, the goofy one. The he'll grow out of it child. But this time, things were different. Linda stared at the report for a long moment. Then she sat down on the couch beside Ethan. Not with anger. Not with disappointment. But with concern. "What's going on, buddy?" she asked gently. "Is something bothering you at school?" Ethan shrugged. "I don't know. I just get distracted." Mark knelt in front of him. "Is it the material? Is it too hard?" "Sometimes," Ethan mumbled. "But mostly I just feel like no one expects me to do well. So I don't even try that hard." Lily's breath caught. No one expects me to do well. For a moment, the irony hit her so hard she almost laughed. She had spent years suffocating under the weight of expectations. And Ethan, just feet away, was quietly drowning in their absence. Later that night, Lily and her father stood in the kitchen cleaning up dinner. "Do you think we were too easy on him?" Mark asked suddenly. Lily looked at him. "I think we forgot that love looks different for each person. I got too much pressure. Ethan got too little. But we both just wanted to feel seen." Mark nodded, deep in thought. "I don't want to fail him," he said quietly. "You haven't," Lily replied. "But now you know better. That counts." He looked at her then, really looked, and smiled. "How did you get so wise?" Lily chuckled. "Probably from carrying way too much for way too long." That night, Lily wrote. July 7th. Expectations can crush you. But so can invisibility. Ethan and I, opposites on the same scale. Both trying to be noticed. Both wanting to be loved without having to prove anything. Today, I realized, even those who look carefree are carrying something too. The next morning, she found a surprise on her desk. A handwritten card from Ethan. Inside, it said, "You always helped me with stuff even when I was annoying. I'm gonna try harder, because you believe I can. Thanks. Nerd. E." Lily laughed. Then folded the card and tucked it into her notebook behind her latest journal entry. It wasn't perfect. But it was real. And real was finally enough. Chapter 16. The day of the announcement. It was a rainy Thursday when the news broke. Lily was seated in English class, quietly annotating a poem. When Rachel burst in during the last 5 minutes of the period, out of breath, eyes bright. "They published it," she whispered, crouching by Lily's desk. Lily blinked. "What?" "Your story. It's in the literary magazine. Today. Front page. With your pseudonym, of course. But I knew it would be." The world tilted slightly. Lily felt a rush of something, joy, fear, disbelief, all colliding like a wave against her chest. "I didn't think they'd choose it," she murmured. "Are you kidding? It's raw. It's honest. It made people cry during our review meeting." Rachel smiled. "We need more stories like yours." By lunchtime, Copies of the magazine were scattered across the school cafeteria. People flipped through, some casually, some hungrily. On the very first page, under the simple header, "The Girl in the Glass Castle," and the author name, L, was Lily's truth. No one knew it was her. But she knew. And that was enough. Or, it should have been. When she got home that afternoon, her parents were waiting at the kitchen table. A copy of the magazine sat between them. Lily froze in the doorway. Mark looked up and smiled. "We recognized it right away." Linda added softly, "I cried, Lily. Really cried." "You read it?" Her father nodded. "Rachel's mom works with me. She gave us a copy this morning. Said her daughter kept talking about a student named L who changed the tone of the whole issue." Lily stood there in stunned silence. "Was it okay?" she asked, almost scared. Her mother rose and crossed the room, placing her hands gently on Lily's shoulders. "It wasn't okay," she said. "It was brave." Lily's throat tightened. "You're not ashamed?" Mark laughed gently. "Ashamed? You told the truth in a way most adults never manage. You didn't write that to shame us. You wrote it to breathe. And we're honored to know you even more now." That night, her mother placed the magazine on the living room shelf, right next to Lily's old academic trophies. Lily watched her do it, then asked, "Why are you putting it there?" Linda smiled. "Because this," she tapped the magazine, "this is the first thing you ever did for you. It belongs where we can see it." Later, Lily wrote in her journal, July 10th. They read it. The whole thing. My truth. My storm. My silence. And they didn't flinch. They held it gently, like something fragile and sacred. I used to think love only came in applause and achievement. But today, I learned. Real love listens. Even when it's uncomfortable. Especially then. As she closed her journal, Lily glanced over at her writing notebook, the one that was once tucked away like a secret. She pulled it out and flipped to a blank page, then wrote 2 words at the top. Part 2. Because this wasn't the end. This was just the beginning. Chapter 17. The Library Showcase. It started with a simple invitation. Lily found it tucked in her locker one rainy Monday morning, a pale blue envelope with her name written in soft cursive. Inside was a formal note from Mrs. Holloway, the head librarian at Rosewood High. Dear Lily Anderson, we are hosting our annual Voices of Youth Creative Showcase next Friday evening at the public library. Your story, The Girl in the Glass Castle, has inspired many. We would be honored to feature your work in the reading portion of the event. With admiration. M. Holloway. Lily stared at the letter for a long time. Her hands trembled slightly. She had never read anything in front of a crowd. Not her stories. Not her truths. But this time, something was different. This time, she wasn't doing it for praise. Or for approval. She was doing it because it mattered to her. She took a deep breath, folded the letter carefully, and slid it into the front pocket of her lavender journal. The week leading up to the event passed in a haze of nervous energy. Each night, Lily practiced reading the story aloud to herself. Sometimes in her bedroom, once in the mirror, once under a blanket with a flashlight as if telling it to the scared version of herself from a year ago. Ethan walked by her door on Thursday night and peeked in. You're talking to yourself. Lily laughed. I'm practicing. For the thing at the library? She nodded. He walked in, plopped down on her rug, and said, Can I hear it? She hesitated, then nodded. And for the first time, Lily read her story not just to herself or a club, but to her little brother, who had always seen her as the quiet, perfect sister. When she finished, Ethan blinked. That was really good. Yeah? He nodded. You sound like you're telling a secret. But the kind people need to hear. Lily felt something stir inside her pride, but not the kind that puffed up her chest. The kind that sat in her bones and whispered, This is who you are. The night of the showcase arrived. The library's community room had been transformed with fairy lights strung across bookshelves, rows of chairs neatly arranged, and a small podium at the front. Parents, students, teachers, and strangers gathered, sipping tea from paper cups and browsing copies of the magazine. Lily stood near the back, clutching her printed copy, heart racing. Then she saw them. Her parents. Ethan. Miss Spencer. Rachel. Even Mrs. Keller from English class. They were all here. All for her. Not for the valedictorian. Not for the resume. Just for Lily. When her name was called, she stepped up to the podium. The lights felt warm. The room hushed. She unfolded the paper with steady hands and began. The girl in the story is good at everything. She smiles on cue. But no one asks her what happens when she's alone. Her voice shook at first. But then it settled firm, clear, unwavering. When she finished, the applause was soft but sincere. She looked up and met her parents' eyes. They weren't just proud. They were moved. After the event, Mrs. Holloway approached her. You have a gift, Lily. But more importantly, you have courage. Keep writing. The world needs your voice. Lily thanked her, cheeks flushed, heart full. Her mother hugged her tightly, whispering, "You are magnificent." And Mark clapped her on the shoulder. Your truth is stronger than any grade you've ever brought home. Ethan simply said. Told you. Secret people need to hear. That night, back in her room, Lily wrote in her journal. July 14th. I stood in front of a room and spoke like I belonged. I didn't perform. I didn't impress. I shared. And they listened. Not because I was perfect. Because I was honest. Then she turned to her story notebook, flipped to her next page, and wrote. Chapter 1. The Girl Who Found Her Voice. Because this time, she wasn't writing for survival. She was writing because she had finally learned to live. Chapter 18. The Field Trip and the Story Corner. The summer air buzzed with energy as students filed off the yellow school bus, chatting excitedly. Lily stepped down behind them. Gripping her tote bag, a stack of laminated story pages tucked safely inside. She had been invited as a guest reader at a Children's Day event hosted by the Portland Public Library, a partnership with local high schools to encourage community involvement. But this wasn't just any event. This was the first time Lily would be reading one of her own stories to an audience of children. No pseudonym. No hiding. Just Lily. The children's reading corner at the library had been transformed into a magical space, colorful rugs, oversized beanbags, paper butterflies hanging from the ceiling. Parents and volunteers gathered around while toddlers and kids from the elementary school across the street plopped down on the carpet, wiggling and giggling. Lily took her seat in the reader's chair, a cushioned armchair draped in a soft purple throw, surrounded by plush animals and stuffed owls. A librarian named Ms. Beverly handed her the mic. You ready? Lily smiled nervously. As I'll ever be. She opened the folder in her lap to her latest piece, The Tree That Could Hear Thoughts. A story she'd written just 2 weeks ago. Inspired by the metaphor in her journal and Ethan's offhand comment about trees being better listeners than people, she began. Once there was a little girl who didn't like to speak. She wasn't shy. She just felt the world was too loud for her voice to matter. So she started whispering her thoughts to a tree. Not because she thought it could answer, but because it never interrupted. And to her surprise, the tree listened. Day after day, season after season, the girl shared her fears, her dreams, her truths. And though the tree never spoke back, she grew taller, stronger, and less alone. As Lily continued, the children leaned in, wide-eyed. Some clutched their stuffed animals. One little girl crept closer and sat cross-legged at Lily's feet, chin resting on her hands. When the story ended, the room was still for a moment. Then a small boy in a frog hat asked, Is that girl real? Lily smiled. She's in all of us, even grown-ups. After the reading, Ms. Beverly whispered, You have a gift, Lily. And not just for writing, for reaching. One of the kids tugged on Lily's sleeve and asked if the tree in the story was in Portland. I think it is, Lily replied, kneeling to her level. It's waiting for someone like you to talk to it. Later that evening, as the sky turned peach and lilac, Lily walked home with her mom. Linda carried Lily's bag and glanced at her daughter with something new in her eyes, not just admiration, but understanding. You're really doing it, she said. Doing what? Becoming yourself. Lily smiled, her steps lighter. Feels like I'm finally allowed to. Linda paused. I know I didn't always make space for that before. I wish I had. Lily touched her arm. You're making it now. They walked the rest of the way home in companionable silence. Not because there was nothing to say, but because, finally, nothing had to be performed. That night, Lily wrote, July 16th. I told a story to children today. Not for a grade. Not for approval. For joy. They listened. They believed. They saw the girl and the tree. And maybe, just maybe, I did too. Then she sketched a small tree in the corner of the page, its branches curved gently outward, like arms always open. Chapter 19. The Room of Her Own. It began with a knock on her bedroom door late one Saturday afternoon. Lily looked up from her notebook, surprised to see her dad leaning against the frame. He wore his usual flannel shirt, but something about the way he held his hands behind his back made him look like he was hiding something. Can you come downstairs for a minute? He asked. She followed him, confused, until he led her to the garage, normally cluttered with tools, paint cans, and half-finished home repair projects. But today, it was different. The space had been cleared out. A soft rug covered the cement floor. A new desk sat by the window, its surface smooth and untouched. On the wall, shelves had been installed, empty, waiting. A reading chair stood in the corner beside a small standing lamp. It wasn't a makeover. It was a beginning. What is this? Lily asked, breath catching. Her father turned to her, eyes kind. Your mom and I thought you needed a space that's just yours. A place where you don't have to be anything but you. Where you can write, rest, or sit in silence if that's what you want. Lily stepped forward, taking it all in, the scent of fresh wood, the open shelves, the quiet. It was the most thoughtful gift she'd ever received. It's beautiful, she whispered. I built the shelves, Mark said, sounding proud. Your mom picked the chair. Ethan tested it, said it's nap-approved. Lily laughed softly, her heart full. Thank you. She turned slowly, taking in the room again. There was no desk calendar. No motivational poster about college prep. No whiteboard listing scholarships. Just space. Her space. That evening, Lily sat at the new desk with a cup of tea, her lavender journal beside her and her favorite pen in hand. She opened to a fresh page and wrote, July 19th. Today, my family built me a room. But what they really built was trust. They didn't ask for a resume. They gave me a corner of the world and said, we believe in who you are becoming. Not the student. Not the good daughter. Just Lily. And that is more than enough. She stared at the page, letting it settle in her chest like warm light. Then she stood, walked over to the bookshelves, and placed two things on the middle shelf. Her first published story, printed and laminated. The lavender notebook that had held her healing. She smiled. The shelf still had space. So did she. Chapter 20, Just Lily. It was the last day of summer before senior year. The sun draped the town of Portland in a soft golden haze. And Lily Anderson stood at the bus stop near Elmwood Street, not to catch a school bus, but to meet Anna. They had made a plan to go downtown, drink overpriced smoothies, and walk by the river without talking about colleges or applications or what comes next. Just a day to be. As Lily waited, she flipped open her lavender journal, now near the end. The pages were worn and dog-eared, filled with pain, questions, confessions, and healing. One more entry. Just one. But before she could write, Anna came jogging up, late as usual, with two mismatched socks and a grin. Don't write without me, nerd, she panted. I brought strawberry. Lily laughed and tucked the journal into her tote bag. They walked toward the Max line, shoulder to shoulder, sipping smoothies and making jokes about how ridiculous it was that the world expected 17-year-olds to have life figured out. That evening, back in her writing room, Lily sat down at her desk. The room had become hers in the most sacred way. On the shelves were not just notebooks and stories now, but little things, a Polaroid of her and Ethan at the library event. A drawing one of the kids gave her of the talking tree. A sticky note from her dad that read, "The world needs your quiet fire." She opened her journal and wrote her final entry. July 23rd. This is my last page. I used to fill pages trying to be enough. Now I fill them because I know I am. I don't need to be the best, or the brightest, or the first to finish. I just need to be whole. That girl in the glass castle? She opened the window. She let herself out. And she is never going back. She signed it. Just Lily. Downstairs. Her parents were setting the table for dinner. Ethan was sneaking chips behind Linda's back. Mark was humming a song off-key. It was noisy. Imperfect. And it was home. Lily slipped the journal onto the shelf. Then she sat with her family, not to impress, not to perform. Just to be. And for the first time in her life, that was all she ever wanted.